Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of the new series, where we will be exploring the Apocrypha. And if you don't know what I have right here, I'm gonna pop it up for y'all. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. I'm gonna switch it over. Sweet. So this is the first episode. Oh, and I just realized it has the crazy text. Let me go ahead and change that. And oh, weird. Where'd those go? Okay, weird. Okay, I will have to fix that in a minute. Where did all those changes go? That is interesting. Is it in prep? I apologize, everyone. A new setup. I kind of changed some stuff over, so it's a little on the technical side, which is nothing new for this channel. But okay, yeah. I'll fix it after I read. So as you see, we have the Testament of Rueben up. We're going to be reading through the Apocryphal. I have the source now in the description, so if you want to read along with us, maybe it's too small on your screen, you just want to listen in and read it for yourself. If you check the link in the description, there'll be a little spot that says source. You can just click that, and we'll be using this website, sacredtext.com, for this series. And again, in the series, Peace Seekers, we're going to read through the Apocrypha. We're starting with the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs, and then we'll be moving on to other books as well. And so how this will kind of work is I am going to go ahead and, with as much vigor as I can, I will read off the first and second chapter. I'm going to go through the whole thing. And if you want to get involved into the discussion, maybe as you're listening and or reading along, jot down a note that you can throw in chat or into Discord about a question or a thought or anything that comes to mind when we're reading these things. And then at the end where we discuss it, we'll bring those chats, those questions, those comments up about what we had just read, and discuss it a little bit. And then we'll call it a stream. So let's go ahead and get into it. I do want to show something really quickly. This is the new series. So there's 4 in there. Of course, for the Testament of 12 Patriarchs, there's 12 of them. I'm going to go ahead and throw this playlist in chat for those who are interested. And as well as want to make sure that you keep up with the series, it's a good way to just copy that link and you have it all right there. So, but that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into the reading. Now, we do have some other people with us. They'll join us after we read the chapter for the discussion part of it. So hopefully y'all stick around for that. And yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and bring back up this chapter, and we are going to get started. All right. And pull this over. Perfect. All right. And there's a little note up here. I don't think this is a part of it. I'm not 100% sure if this is a part of the chapter or this is like a note. It says, Reuben, the firstborn son of Jacob and Leah, the man of experience, counsels against fornication and points out the ways in which men are most apt to fall into error. Okay, I think that's just a summary for it. So let's go ahead and read it. So it says, the copy of the Testament of Reuben, even the commands which he gave his sons before he died, in the 125th year of his life, 2 years after the death of Joseph, his brother, when Reuben fell ill, his sons and his sons' sons were gathered together to visit him. And he said to them, My children, behold, I am dying, and I go the way of my fathers. And seeing there Judah and Gad and Asher, his brethren, he said to them, Raise me up, that I may tell to my brethren and to my children what things I have hidden in my heart. For behold, now at the length I am passing away. And he arose and kissed them, and said unto them, Hear, my brethren, and do ye, my children, give ear to Reuben your father, and the commands which I give unto you. And behold, I call to witness against you this day the God of heaven, that ye walk not in the sins of youth and of fornication, where I was poured out and defiled the bed of my father Jacob. And I tell you that he smote me with a sore plague in my loins for several months. And had not my father Jam prayed for me to the Lord would have destroyed me. For I was 30 years old when I wrought the evil things before the Lord, and for 7 months I was sick unto death. And after all this I repented with the set purpose of my soul for 7 years before the Lord. And wine and strong drink I drank not, and flesh entered not in my mouth, and I ate not no pleasant food, but I mourned over my sin, for it was great, such as had not been in Israel. And now hear me, my children, what things I saw concerning the 7 spirits of deceit when I repented. 7 spirits therefore are appointed against man, and they are the leaders in the works of youth. And 7 other spirits are given to him at his creation, that though them should be done every work of man. The first is the spirit of life, which the first is the spirit of life, the first is the spirit of life, with which the constitution of man is created. Second is the spirit of hearing, with which cometh teaching. Oh, I totally wrecked that. All right, starting over. Sorry, apologize. The first is the spirit of life, with which the constitution of man is created. The second is the spirit of sight, with which arises desire. The third is the sense of hearing, which cometh with teaching. And oh my gosh. The fourth is the sense of smell, with which tastes are given to draw air and breathe. The fifth is the power of speech, with which cometh knowledge. The sixth is the sense of taste, with which come the eating of meats and drinks. By its strength it's produced, for in food is the foundation of strength. The seventh is the power of procreation and manual let me think. I don't know if I should say this word, so I'm going to kind of censor it. The seventh is the power of procreation, with which through love of pleasure sin enters in. Wherefore it is the last in the order of creation, and the first in that of youth, because it is filled with ignorance, and leadeth the youth as a blind man to a pit, and as a beast to a precipice. Besides all these there is an eighth spirit of sleep, with which is brought about the trance of nature and of death. With these spirits are mingled the spirits of error. First, the spirit of fornication is seated in nature and in the senses. The second, the spirit of insatiableness. Babe, can you say that word for me? Oh, it is. Okay. It totally is. Okay, sweet, thanks. The second, the spirit of insatiableness in the belly. The third, the spirit of fighting in the liver and gall. The fourth is the spirit of obsesiousness and chicanery, that through officious attention one may be faring in seeming. The fifth is the spirit of pride, that one may be boastful and arrogant. The sixth is the spirit of lying, in perdition and jealousy to practice The sixth is the spirit of lying, in perdition and jealousy to practice deceits and concealments from kindred and friends. The seventh is the spirit of injustice, with which are thefts and acts of rapacity. The seventh is the spirit of injustice, with which are thefts and acts of rapacity, that a man may fulfill the desire of his heart. For injustice worketh together with the other spirits by taking of gifts. And with all the spirits of sleep is joined, which is that of error and fantasy. And so persisteth every young man, darken his mind from the truth, and not understanding the law of God, nor obeying the admonitions of his fathers, as befell me also in my youth. And now, my children, love the truth, and it will preserve you. Hear ye the words of Reuben your father. Pay no heed to the face of a woman, nor associate with another man's wife, nor meddle with the affairs of womankind. For had I not seen Bilhah bathing in a covered place, I had not fallen into this great iniquity. For my mind, taking in the thought of the woman's nakedness, suffered me not to sleep until I wrought the abominable thing. For while Jacob our father had gone to Isaac his father, when we were in Eder, near to Ephrath and Bethlehem, Bilhah became drunk and was asleep uncovered in her chamber. Having therefore gone in and held her nakedness, I wrought the impenitent without her perceiving, and leaving her sleeping departed. And forthwith an angel of God revealed to my father concerning my impiety, and he became impiety. And forthwith an angel of God revealed to my father concerning my impiety, and he came and mourned over me and touched her no more. All right. I'm going to jump over to chapter 2. We're going to finish it up. Keep trying to do it on the wrong side. Testament of the 12 Patriarchs, Testament of Rueben, chapter 2. Pay no heed, therefore, my children, to the beauty of women, nor set your mind on their affairs, but walk in singleness of heart in the fear of the Lord, and expend labor on good works, and on study, and on your flocks, until the Lord give you a wife whom he will, that ye suffer not as I did. For until my father's death I had not boldness to look in his face, or to speak to any of my brethren, because of the reproach. Even until now my conscience causeth me anguish on account of my impiety. And yet my father comforted me much, and prayed for me unto the Lord, that the anger of the Lord might pass from me, even as the Lord showed. And thenceforth until now I have been on my guard and sinned not. Therefore, my children, I say unto you, observe all the things whatever so I command you, and ye shall not sin. For a pit unto the soul is the sin of fornication, separating it from God, and bringing it near to idols, because it deceiveth the mind and understanding, and leadeth down young men into Hades before their time. For many hath fornication destroyed, because, though a man be old or noble, or rich or poor, he bringeth reproach upon himself with the sons of men, and derides with Beliar. For ye heard regarding Joseph how he guarded himself from a woman, and purged his thoughts from all fornication, and found favor in the sight of God and men. For the Egyptian woman did many things unto him, and summoned magicians, and offered him love potions. But the purpose of his soul emitted no evil desire. Therefore, the God of your fathers delivered him from every evil and hidden death. For it is fornication overcomes not your mind, neither has Beliar overcome you. For evil are women, my children, since they have no power or strength over man, that they use wiles by outward attraction, that they may draw into themselves. And whom they cannot bewitch by outward attractions, him they overcome by craft. For moreover, concerning them, the angel of the Lord told me and taught me that women are overcome by the spirit of fornication more than men. And in their heart they plot against men. And by means of their adoration they deceive first their minds, but by the glance of their eye instill the poison. And then through accomplished acts they take them captive. For a woman cannot force a man openly, but a harlot's bearing she beguiles him. Flee therefore fornication, my children, and command your wives and your daughters that they adore not their heads and faces deceive the mind, because every woman who uses these wiles bath been reserved for eternal punishment. For thus they allured the watchers who were before the flood. For thus they allured the watchers who were before the flood. For as they continually beheld them, they lusted after them, and they conceived the act in their mind. For they changed themselves into the shape of men, and appeared to them when they were with their husbands. And the woman lusting in their minds after their forms gave birth to giants, for the watchers appeared to them as reaching even unto heaven. Beware therefore of fornication. I lost my spot. Give me 1 second. All right. Beware therefore of fornication. And if you wish to be pure in mind, guard your senses from every woman. And command the woman likewise not to associate with men, that they also may be pure in mind. For constant meetings, even through the ungodly deed, be not wrought, are to them an immediable disease, and to us a destruction of Beliar, and an eternal reproach. For in fornication there is neither understanding nor godliness. For in fornication there is neither understanding nor godlessness. Oh my God, I keep saying that wrong. For in fornication there is neither understanding nor godliness, and all jealousy dwelleth in the lust thereof. Therefore, when I say unto you, ye will be jealous against the sons. Therefore, when I say unto you, ye will be jealous against the sons of Levi, and will seek to be exalted over them, but ye shall not be able. For God will avenge them, and ye shall die by an evil death. For to Levi God gave the sovereignty, and to Judah with him, and to me also, and to Dan and Joseph, and we should be for rulers. Therefore I command you to hearken to Levi, because he shall know the law of the Therefore I command you to hearken to Levi, because he shall know the law of the Lord, and shall give ordinances for the judgment, and shall sacrifice for all Israel until the consummation of the times, as the anointed high priest of whom the Lord spake. I adjure you by the God of heaven to do truth each one unto his neighbor, and to entertain love each one for his brother. And I draw ye near to Levi in humbleness of heart, that ye may receive a blessing from his mouth. For he shall bless Israel and Judah, because him hath the Lord chosen to be the king over all the nation. And bow down before his seed, for our behalf it will die in wars visible and invisible, and will be among you an eternal king. And Reuben died, having given the commands to his sons. And they placed him in a coffin until they carried him up from Egypt and buried him in Hebron, in the cave where his father was. Sweet. Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for listening along. We are going to get into a little bit of a discussion when it comes to what we just read. So, oh, I see him. Now I'm clicking in the wrong place again. Sweet. So I will keep this up here. So if anyone wants to reference it, we can still pull it up. But real quick. Oh, sorry about that. So real quick, let's. So we just read from the Testament of Rueben. We read both the chapters. So if you didn't get to check that out, just rewind a little bit, and you should be able to hear it out. For those, I do plan to clip this and add it as a separate video. So someone who just wants to go watch, a corrected version of that reading, it will be another little video that people will be able to use if they would like. So that's why I kept repeating when I made a mistake, and I'm sure I made mistakes regardless of me catching it. But I appreciate y'all for listening along. Let's go ahead and get into the discussion. So real quick, I'm kind of getting now what these are. I have seen people reference these and talk about them more specifically. Sean of Kingdom and Context. I've seen him talk about the Testaments of the 12 Patriarchs, and this is actually my first time reading them, and so I'll be going through this very blind. And I want to keep it new like that because, there's other people out there as well that have never read this before. Speaking of which, I did a little poll, and let's pull that up real quick. So there's been 10 votes, and it's literally 5-5. So 5 saying yes, 5 saying no. And I think that's for a lot of people within the truth community, as maybe they've heard of these books, maybe seen some verses referenced, but maybe they've never really read it before. And something that I will say straight off is there's a lot of cool information in here. Now it may, I don't know how, in my wife, I'd love to hear your opinion on this, how women would take this, because there's kind of some claims against that. If I would think that actually women may, of the at least the Torah community, may not be offended by this because they get what that spirit is compared to where they are, compared to where they were. I don't know. What are your thoughts, babe? Do you really? Oh, your camera's. Oh, there. It's lagging. Are you on Wi-Fi? I guess you'd have to be. It's just jumping around. But go ahead. Your audio's fine. Excuse the video. Sure. And you got, not that you're not always, but you got beautiful to take it on. So yeah, what were you? Okay, sorry, you were lagging. Go ahead. She was it was literally Reuben's father. Reuben's father's wife. Yeah, I'm not 100% like it kind of seemed like and the guys, obviously this is a little bit more of adult conversation, but I will use as least possible weak words as possible. It almost sounded like to me that he relieved himself, or that he literally, um, without using big strong words, did he do something to himself, or did he? Oh, they can't hear you. They can't hear you.
So, so yeah, without weak words, um, you got the Jezebel, um, that's Reuben's concubine. She was not, you know, being a lady. And you got Reuben, who um, he was not being a gentleman. And so, kind of like King David later on in the Bible, um, he succumbed to his
Desire
want, his desires.
for
So
Bathsheba.
like, so well, it wasn't.
Wait, hold on. And if we take, if, can they hear me or not?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So if you go back to Genesis 35:22, it says, "And it came to pass while Israel dwelt in that land that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah his father's concubine." So they did, in fact, in nice words, lay together.
Okay. So
Glad
yeah,
we got that
that's
cleared up.
yeah, and okay, and we kind of see him get directly like God comes and lets him know like, hey, and even lets his father know, right? He doesn't even get to hide it. He thought he was gonna like get away with it, but sure enough, it's revealed. And because when I was reading this, like I was like I was wondering if, because specifically with the part, and I think there's such a difference here, and I think he has very harsh words for women who do this, but of course we have mercy and grace, right? Like none of us are perfect. But I think what it's really calling out here, and if y'all have different opinions, I'd love to hear them, is actually the intent, because it kind of calls out like this intent part of it where she's purposefully making herself more appealing, to for this process of dominating a man, and as opposed to loving him and wanting to, you know what I mean? So it's like, and I think he's calling out the women of the world, right? Like, hey, there's going to be all these women who are going to change themselves. They're going to adorn themselves and make, people look more, more attractive. Um, it's the intent. What, any thoughts about that or anything else?
Well, I do think that it's important for us to see their sin, because like this is a chosen people. We are a chosen people, and I think that we get in danger, especially with people like King David or Abraham or Moses. We get in the danger of like worshiping them, like kind of idolatrize, like, oh, they were such great men. And when we read these stories through, we're like, oh, there's no need to worship them. Like, we're all sinners. Yah chooses people who um,
Me.
need work, and changes them and molds them, and shows that he's like, Yah is really the only one to worship.
Yeah.
So I don't think that we should like judge too harshly either. I don't know. I don't know that I know any men who haven't come short of lustful desires.
Well, and it was it. Did you pick up that it said that actually? So he lists off all those, all the spirits, right? And let's go back to chapter one. Back. So in chapter one, he lists off the seven spirits, and then how that connects to this, like our senses and things like that. But it says down here, it says, where was that? Give me 1 second, guys. 7 spirits appointed man. Teach. Where was that I read that? Does anyone in chat know where that was? Where it literally said
It's in chapter 1.
the women chambers perceive
Well,
not.
while you're looking for that, this
Mhm.
was kind of like the fall of Reuben, this act that he did with his father's concubine. It, like in Genesis 49, it says, Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might, the first sign of my strength, excelling in honor, excelling in power, turbulent as the waters. You will no longer excel, for you went up onto your father's bed, onto my couch, and defiled it. And he seems pretty bitter towards women. The wrong type of women, maybe. But he has a lot of responsibility here.
Oh yeah. So you can kind of see like the underbelly of Reuben in this testament, right? Like we see the. Go ahead.
I like the honesty. That's all I was gonna say.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like we get to see the underbelly. Like
You're
it's not the
painting.
pretty picture. And I think, which is kind of a good point for another reason, and why, I feel like we also see similar of this style of writing within Scripture, right, where we get the positives of the patriarchs, the men, that the Father used, for Scripture and through the events of history. And something like this really, kind of brings Reuben down to earth, someone we can actually, get and pulls down that kind of the tendency of man to idolize these people. And now, should we have respect and love for our the brothers before us? Absolutely. But yeah, I just thought that kind of went along. I'm gonna check chat and see if anyone says where it literally says. No. I know I read it. I'm pretty sure it was in chapter 1. And I know I'm only asking like half the people here, so. But it's literally said something along the lines of like what's the spirit of fornication? So the first. Okay, so he goes through the senses. Wherefore creation, evil beast, precipice. Okay, I think it's actually after.
Are you talking about like the life, seeing, hearing, smell, speech, taste?
No, that's right here. No, what it basically said is that women have a harder time with the fornication than men do. And it's interesting, right? Because like nowadays with the way that the society works, right? And the availability of, images and videos of adult acts, that I feel like that's kind of switched in a way. And it, at least what's seemingly open, but also if you think about the whole both birth control movement, right? And free the areola, right? That whole thing, and you can really connect the unfortunate murdering of unborn children in that, where women now have so much control over that specific aspect of their lives. And we can kind of look at society and see, okay, well, when this type of thing is running amok, what type of society do we get? What kind of evils are brought unto the society? And I think we can kind of see that in our day and age for sure.
Vader, my book is broken down in different chapters. Slow down.
Oh, okay.
7. Whereas the older besides with
Senses. There was a part that literally said something very similar to that. I think it's the next chapter.
Yeah, because it does in my it start you know, it's in 3:3 for me, but it says first the ruach of fornication is seated in the nature of the senses, so it's the first.
Oh, okay, it's right here. First first the spirit of fornication is seated in the senses. Yeah, but I thought it said let me go to the next chapter. This is a Bible study. God is not a teaching, so we're kind of exploring here. So explore with us. If you find it, throw it in chat. I would love the help. I know it said it somewhere. For sure. Destroy because noble Velar, for you heard Joseph guard himself. Admitted no desire. Okay. That's not what I'm looking for. Let me skip down here for oh, I think it's right here. All right, let me just read this little part here and maybe we'll find it. For evil are women, my children, and since they have no power or strength over man, they use wiles by outward attractions that they may draw him to themselves. And whom they cannot bewitch by outward attractions, him they overcome by craft. Moreover, concerning them, the angel of the Lord told me and taught me that women are overcome by the spirit of fornication more than men. And in their heart they plot against men. And by the means of the adornment they deceive first their minds, and by the glance of their eyes instill the poison. And then through the accomplished act they take them captive. For a woman cannot force a man openly, but by a harlot's bearing she beguiles him. So that was the part I was talking about, where the angel of the Lord is specifically explaining that the spirit of fornication affects women more than men. And you know, I would say in our society it's easy with the adult videos and photography, quote unquote, that's out there, that it's men that are obsessed with it, and men that are all and while I'm not taking away from that, and I think it's still a huge issue within the community, I also think that this is something that women out there that get to listen to this is, you know, to hearken into this, maybe spend a little time in the warnings that he's giving his, you know, his sons and his sons about walking in life and trying not to sin, you know. And most most Torah women, their desire is that if they don't have one, to find a man that's going to be a godly woman, who they very much don't want that man to be beguiled by these women who do these things. And so I think it is important to teach our sons this, right? I'm definitely going to teach my son, hey, you know, there are women out there that, yeah, they may be pretty and they may be fun, but their desire is not to love you. It is to dominate you. And I think that's pretty important. And yeah, so I have one more other thing I want to mention before we get off, but I want to give everyone else a chance to bring up anything that they thought was interesting with these chapters.
So to continue on the thought that you had, Yeshua said to the prostitute, let those who without sin cast the first stone. And so you look at Reuben and Rachel and Leah, and then Rachel and Leah, they present their maidservants, and I mean, the whole thing is a mess. So, um, you know, Reuben just topped it off with what he done, but there's pretty much nobody in the story that was without any faults at all. Microphone.
The fact that these type of so-called apocrypha are becoming more mainstream. We can go to websites now where they just, most of these were translated by R.H. Charles, decades ago. And so there isn't a ton of effort put into these books. But to me, I like, especially the book of Enoch and the book of Jubilees. Like, I gleaned so much information, so many questions for me were answered that I had. And, come to find out, like, hey, these weren't just found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. These also are within the canons of multiple different nations and have been for hundreds of years. And so, it's to me, it's one of those things that through my life, I've had these opinions, these ideas, these conspiracy theories, that I believed in one way or the other. And aliens as an example. I used to totally believe, wow, well, if we live on a globe and we live in a galaxy and a universe, surely out of all those stars with all those planets, too many to ever count in a lifetime, surely there would be life on one of them. And so that then leads to an assumption, right, of if anything comes here, they're from a different world. And I'm tying that in because I think him outright saying, hey guys, there's these seven spirits, and not only is there's these seven spirits, there's also seven you got your six senses, and how these senses, and he's basically giving you a guide to say, fellas, if you want to know how these things are getting in the door, this is how it's happening, right? Because a man looks at this image of this beautiful woman. That beautiful woman then is in a thought in their head, and we saw what exactly happened to Reuben, right? Where Reuben first saw her nakedness bathing, and then he thought about it, and then an opportunity presented himself, and since he had created that fantasy in his heart, that desire in his heart from using his senses, he then would later fall victim to that and go through the hardship that he did. And so him pointing out, the spirits and the senses, I think is such good information. Now, think about this. Where else in Scripture does it talk to us about the different spirits over different parts of our behavior and the godlessness of some of those compared to the godliness of his commands, and then look at the senses and how the senses can easily, but where else in Scripture are we getting this kind of detailed out? And I don't, nothing comes to mind specifically when it's talking about this. And again, with my love for the book of Enoch here in 18, where it's specifically talking about the women who allured the watchers and got them it going in their minds so much that they agreed to come down on Mount Hermon, see book of Enoch, and all the craziness that came from it all the way up to Noah getting into the ark. So, I love all the connections. It's so cool. It's so cool. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is specifically that Reuben is telling his sons and his sons' sons, hey, hearken unto Levi and the sons of Levi, right? They know the law. They're going to teach you the law. They're going to teach you the law of the Lord, give you the ordinances, and they're going to do sacrifices for all of Israel. Right? In this part in 26, therefore I command you to hearken to Levi, because he shall know the law of the Lord, and shall give ordinance for the judgment, and shall sacrifice for all Israel until the consummation of the times. What's that? That's the 1,000-year reign. That's everything thrown into the lake of fire, and the resurrection, the full resurrection of all those. that are left over, and then it says, as the anointed high priest of whom the Lord spake. Which high priest? We know in Scripture there's a very easily identifiable person who is called the high priest, whom as we see here in the patriarchs, as well as in the Torah and in the quote unquote Old Testament, where we literally see this exact same thing. So, and I adjure you by God of heaven to do truth each one unto his neighbor, and to entertain love each with his brother. And then it said, for he shall bless Israel and Judah, because him hath the Lord chosen to be the king over all the nations. And where's that last part? And bow down before his seed. For our behalf it will die in wars, visible and invisible, and will be among you an eternal king. All right, an eternal king, a high priest. It's like this is preaching, talking, prophesying about the same one that his fathers talked about, which is that promised high priest. So that's kind of my thoughts for it. I'm definitely gonna, reread this on my own time and kind of see what else there is for me to learn. I implore y'all to do the same. And I hope y'all enjoyed the reading of it. And if anyone has any more points of discussion for this specific, for the Testament of Rueben, let's go ahead and hear it. If not, we'll go ahead and end the stream and wish everybody a goodbye. Going once, going twice. Looks like my wife had to leave to be mom. Sweet. So, again, thanks for being here, guys. I hope y'all had a good time. We will be here next week, next Sunday, again at 4 p.m. Eastern for the next book. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't get to check it out live, I hope you enjoyed it on the rewatch, and hope to see you next time. Until then, remember that ABBA loved you first. Have a good day, everybody.
It's like a water, I'm running every day.